Okay, hello again to Chess Cruncher. This is my one of my games from the U.S. Open that I recently played at Vancouver, Washington, and I wanted to show you. It was a game between me, Black, Jeremy Harlin, and White, Shy, Douglas R. And I wanted to show you this because it was a game that shows that you should never give up and continue to play on. Don't let your mind get cloudy or anything so that you can continue to play. Let us begin. Yeah, standard opening. He comes up. He thinks, I'm going to get his bishop. But yeah, I have to bring it back. So it's not too bad. And then I'm now developing my pawns. I'm okay to give up my bishop, my light squared bishop, because I have a really good dark squared bishop to make up for that. He goes bishop d3. He's developing, and he's going to castle pretty soon. I go bishop d6. I'm forcing him to capture so I can bring out my queen rook, the rook at b8. He captures, like I said, and I capture, and now my rook's at d7, and I can shift it to, if I want to, b6 or f6, and I can bring it into the center. So it's not really in a bad location right now. He castles, like we said, he's getting ready, and I play knight h6. The reason is I have the ability to swing my knight down to either my goal was actually to swing it over to f5 and either make him trade bishop for knight or just get ready for a kingside attack, because I may castle queenside and then start as you see, a pawn onslaught on his kingside. I can start bringing my pawns down, and I can move my the h6 knight back to f7 and support the whole pawn thrust down. So it's not really in a good spot, but it's not really in a bad spot. It will come in handy later. Okay, he goes knight d2, getting ready to bring some support to his kingside just in case if some on the onslaught starts. I go bishop takes h2 check. He takes, I play queen takes h4. He moves back. I go knight g4. He brings his knight out. What happened was I had kind of a I didn't see the knight move. I was thinking that I could get checkmate, but I didn't see the knight move, and so I made a mistake. But you'll see how I recovered. I didn't let the mistake overcome my mind and let it get cloudy. I recovered. I thought to myself, yes, I have a pawn on the king side. I know I'm down a piece, but I still have a pawn, so it's not like I lost a whole piece. So let us continue. I go e7. I'm regrouping. Like I said, I'm probably going to castle queenside and then start the pawn onslaught. You have to, if you make a mistake, you have to forgive yourself and continue to play on. Don't give up just because one mistake, and don't let your mind get cloudy so that you make more mistakes and more mistakes. He goes e4. He's trying to rip open the center so that he can pin my queen to my king with his rook. I say forget that, and I castle queenside. Now I'm going to start the pawn onslaught on the king side. He goes e takes d, and then I go e takes d, and I have somewhat of a pawn majority on the king side. If you notice, 2 pawns to 3 pawns. Yes, I'm down a piece, but I still have a pawn, so it's not like I'm down a whole piece. He goes bishop f4. I go knight g f6. I'm rerouting my knight, so that I can get, like I said, the pawn onslaught like H, G. I can get those pieces going down the board. He goes C1. He's trying to go C4. The reason he's going to go C4 is he's going to try to lever open my pawn in the center so that he can start an onslaught on the queen side. It's basically who can get their pawns going and who can set up a better position that'll win on opposite side castling. I go H5. I start right away. He goes C4. I go H4. He goes C takes D5. I go knight takes D5. Now I'm attacking his bishop. He goes rook. He's attacking my queen. I move my queen to B4. I'm attacking the pawn, and also I'm threatening as you see, the B2 pawn. So it's a double threat. He has to defend, so he goes C2. He's threatening checkmate. So I bring my queen back to B6. I see that. He moves his bishop to H2. It's going to be it's a piece that is going to be a pain throughout the whole game, but I still win the game. But there are sometimes your opponent gets pieces a piece you can't capture that is very effective against you, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of you. So remember that. I go H3. He goes G4. He doesn't want to trade because then it would be rook takes, and man, it wouldn't be good for him. So he thinks that if I just have an isolated pawn at H3, it's going to be a weakness. It's really not. I'll show you why later on. I go G6. I'm getting ready to also I can play F5 if I want to lever open the center, and then I can start an onslaught of the queen side. But I don't want to really do that right now, because if I do that, then I'll lose a pawn, and it'll actually be really bad for me. So I wait for a little bit, and you'll see how I get my pieces all developed and ready before I do that huge onslaught of the king side. Yes, I have an isolated C3 pawn, but like I said, it's not a big deal right now. And then he goes bishop E4. I go knight to knight E7 to F6, attacking his bishop. He takes, I take. He plays rook E5. I go, don't think so. The whole thing, I'm going to go back for just a second and show you. What he was trying to do is trade off a knight so that I won't have enough defenders to actually protect my king, and it would be checkmate. He has a bishop and a queen and a rook hammering down, you see, my C7 pawn. So it's very important that I keep that knight there. And that's why I play C6. It's kind of a forced move. Yes, I open up for his bishop at H2 to slice down the whole diagonal of the dark squares. But you know what? I figure I'm still alive, and it's still a playable position. So sometimes you have to secede a little bit to actually stay in the game. So don't ever think that kind of opening up a position that looks dangerous is dangerous. Sometimes it'll save the day. He goes G5. He's getting ready. I don't understand why he did this. Maybe he was thinking about that I was going to play F. It would stop my F thrust to F5. I guess that would it lock down, but think about it. He's using a rook to stop on that onslaught. So now I have my rooks that are more agile than his. His is stuck trying to checkmate my king. Yes, it's pinning the C6 pawn, but it's all over on the queen side. He only really has 3 pieces on the king side. And I'm going to now route my pieces back into the game, and you'll see. Watch. It doesn't bother me that even if he would take, because I can play pawn takes, and now I've opened up his king to a huge amount of attack. My rooks can come in there and just slice and dice the king to pieces. He has to take, g takes f5, and then I play h5. The reason is yes, I want to I don't want to really take, because if you notice, if I take, then he could play queen takes, and I'll lose a rook, because then what'll happen is he'll bring his rook down, and it'll just be a whole mess. So I'd rather lose another pawn to stay in the game and just wreak havoc on his position. He takes the bait. I go g5. He goes back. He is trying to get everything back, and yes, I do take. Then he takes, and I am down a whole piece and a pawn. True, but I'll show you what I do. It's really a good thing after this. I go g8. I'm pinning his knight, and I'm going to win the knight if he doesn't get some defense. And he uses during this time all of his pieces to defend his knight, because that's a very vital piece. Because if you notice, my pawn is now, the h pawn that was weak is now a thorn and like a bone in the throat of his king, because it's just going to be a mess if he moves, if he doesn't defend his knight. So he defends with the queen. Here's the first defense, d2. Now I'm attacking. I'm going to d8, attacking again. Look, he has to bring a pawn. Then I bring my queen into f6. I'm getting ready. I could take a pawn. If you notice, he has no defenders for his f5 pawn. And now he has to bring his queen in. Yes, his pawn is defended by his bishop, and he thinks that he has everything all in the bag. But I'll show you what I do. I go e5. Bang. Now there's no way he could defend that pawn, and I'm going to win it. He goes rook e1. I go, I got your pawn. There it is. And then he goes e4. He's kind of really stuck right now. And then I go h6. I'm protecting my h3 pawn if he moves his king, and he did move his king to f1. Sorry. I move back because if he takes the pawn, I can bring my queen down to, if you notice, g2, and I can fork his bishop. If you notice that, then I could be a piece down, and he'll be a piece. Will be tied up for material. That's what I'm saying. So that's what he sees. So this is what he moves: f2, king to f2. The reason is he doesn't want any problems on his back rank. He wants to have his king to have some mobility. I go knight d6, smack. Look at that. His queen is pinned. I mean, the rook is pinned to his queen. It's just horrible. He has to play e3. More, he's defending again. I go knight f5. He goes knight takes. He makes that was a huge mistake. From what I heard, that he thought some of his pieces were on different squares, but that's when what is called chess blindness, shadow playing. You think a piece is on one square, but it's actually on another square. So keep your mind clear. Don't make phantoms of pieces being in spots that they're not. Play smart, and I know you can play smart. So he makes a blunder, a mega blunder. I take. At this point, my opponent resigns because he sees so many threats, and this is a formation that I actually worked out that more likely my opponent would play. So I'm going to play on to checkmate to show you the idea that I had behind the whole thing of after this. I had a strategy set up and it checkmates. So I'll show you what could have happened, but it didn't happen. So we'll just enjoy the checkmate pattern. He goes knight e5, trying to seal up so that he doesn't lose his bishop. At h2, because I could have brought my queen. I'm going to go back for a second. I could have brought my queen to c2. Do you see that? And then there he would have had a big problem with that. And let's say he tried to block with rook to d. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. E2. I can bring my rook down, and there'd just be a whole bad problem for him. I could bring it down to g2. An attack, and then he would have to move, and it would just be a total mess. So that's actually the best move. Then I like I said, I bring it down to g2. He goes to f1. I go bishop b5 check. He moves. I go bishop b4 check. He goes f1. Sorry, king f1. Then I go c4, he goes e1, and then queen c1, checkmate. That's a formation that could have actually happened. So we'll see. I will see you again at next time on Chess Cruncher, and I hope you enjoyed the game as much as I enjoyed explaining it to you. God bless, and we'll see you next time.